War is not just about brute force and military strategy. It's also about breaking the enemy's spirit before the first blow is even struck. Throughout history, there has been a dark art to winning battles without fighting, psychological warfare. In this video, we'll explore the sinister tactics that have been used for centuries to intimidate, confuse, and demoralize the opposition. From the haunting sounds of war drums to the shocking sight of elephant charges, these are the scary ways that ancient warriors used to win battles without fighting. Loud, rhythmic beats mixed with the guttural shouts of war cries were used by many ancient cultures to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. The deep, resonant sound of war drums could be heard for miles, creating a sense of dread and foreboding long before an army was in sight. The clash of cymbals and the pounding of gongs added to the cacophony, creating a wall of sound that was designed to intimidate and confuse the enemy. The use of loud, rhythmic beats was no accident. It was meant to evoke an emotional response, to create a sense of urgency and panic in the ranks of the opposition. As the drums grew louder and more intense, the enemy's heartbeats began to quicken and their breathing became more rapid. They knew that whatever came next would be loud, chaotic, and dangerous. Elephant charges. Few things in ancient warfare were more terrifying than the sight of a massive war elephant thundering toward the enemy. These enormous creatures were not only large and powerful, but also unpredictable and noisy, making them the perfect instrument of psychological warfare. The sheer size of the elephants was enough to intimidate even the most battle-hardened soldiers. As they charged, their tusks flashing in the sunlight, the ground trembled beneath their feet and the air filled with the sound of their trumpets. The element of surprise was also a key component of their effectiveness. Elephants could be hidden from view until the last moment, and then they would emerge from the trees or around a bend, catching the enemy off guard. This suddenness of their appearance added to the sense of chaos and panic that surrounded them. Their unpredictability made them even more terrifying. Elephants could be trained to perform a variety of tasks, from carrying out riders to using their tusks to spear enemies. This versatility meant that the opposition never knew what to expect, which kept them constantly on edge. Visual intimidation. Another important aspect of psychological warfare was the use of visual intimidation. Warriors would wear fearsome masks and paint their faces in terrifying designs to make themselves look more frightening. They would also wear elaborate armor that made them look like giants or demons. The purpose of this was to create a sense of awe and terror in the minds of the enemy. When the opposition saw these warriors approaching, they knew that they were in the presence of something dangerous and otherworldly. Deception and misinformation. Spreading false rumors or staging fake retreats were common tactics used to break the enemy's morale. By spreading rumors of the approach of a much larger force, ancient armies could make their opponents think twice before engaging in battle. Similarly, feigning a retreat could cause the enemy to think that they were winning, only to turn around and attack when they least expected it. Use of fire and noise. Fire and noise were two of the most effective weapons of psychological warfare. Flaming projectiles such as arrows and spears were used to create a sense of chaos and panic among the enemy ranks. The roar of flames and the smell of burning wood were enough to frighten even the most courageous soldiers. Similarly, the ancient battlefield was filled with the clash of arms, the shouts of men, and the neighing of horses. This constant noise created a sense of urgency and tension that made it difficult for the enemy to think clearly. Symbolic displays. Ancient warriors would carry severed heads, enemy banners, or exaggerated war standards into battle as a way of showing their opponents how many enemies they had already defeated. This was a form of intimidation that was meant to break the enemy's morale before the battle even began. The sight of their enemies' heads on pikes was a grim reminder of what awaited them if they refused to surrender. Psychological pressure. Sometimes the best way to win a battle was to make the enemy surrender without fighting at all. Ancient armies would lay siege to cities and use starvation tactics to force the inhabitants to give up. By cutting off their food supply, they would weaken the city's defenses until the people were too hungry to resist. Another tactic was to showcase their own overwhelming numbers as a way of intimidating the enemy into surrendering. This was often done by encircling the enemy's position with troops or forming a large circle around their camp. The goal was to make the defenders feel trapped and outnumbered, which would make them more likely to give up. Shock and awe. Finally, one of the most powerful forms of psychological warfare was the use of shock and awe. This involved using a sudden, overwhelming force to crush the will of the enemy quickly. The idea was to create such a sense of fear that the enemy would surrender or flee without putting up a fight. Shock and awe tactics were often used in conjunction with other forms of psychological warfare, such as the use of loud noises and intimidating visuals. In conclusion, ancient warriors employed a variety of scary ways to win battles without fighting. From psychological tactics like spreading rumors and using deception to more overt forms of intimidation, they had a range of methods at their disposal. What do you think is the most effective form of psychological warfare? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos on this and other fascinating topics.